Welcome to today's tutorial, and today is part 3 for our 3-part video, AutoCAD mechanical basics. Right, and then just before I get into the details of part 3, the thing about AutoCAD it's that if you are using English, that is like AutoCAD Autodesk English, or you are using AutoCAD mechanical, most of the tools over there are similar. They perform the same functions, right? Just that for the mechanical, it has one or more features that may not be in the Autodesk English, right? So if in case you are watching this and then you are using Autodesk AutoCAD, you may encounter some of the tools in your app type, right? So in the first video, we looked into the drawing area. Where we looked at the line and the polyline and the circle and all of that. The second one, we considered the construction area, and we also went through the modify area. So today we want to conclude with the last and final video in the 3D basics. So as you can see that there are many tabs, there are many tools to go about in AutoCAD mechanical, right? So we have the home over here, we have insert, annotate, parametric, different ones all the way to featured apps. But if you have to take each and every one of them one by one, we would have a very long video, probably more or less like a 3-hour course, right? And that wouldn't be good. So what we'll do is that let's take it one by one and then take it from the side of basics, right? Just to get to know basic tools to be able to make drawings, right? 2D and then 3D. So this video is just basically to introduce us to the 2D dimension of AutoCAD, right? So without much ado, let's get into our next one. So our next one, I want to look at this still within the modify area. I want to look at this guy we call stretch, right? So just as I said, that once you place a cursor on it, it gives you whatever details there is to know about that too. So a stretch is basically to, as the name suggests, to stretch out objects, right? So let's try drawing a rectangle like this, and then we apply the stretch guy, and then it says that select object. So we select it and then we press enter. After pressing enter, it's asking to select the base point. So maybe we come here, and then once we are done, what do? We extend it. Are we okay? So more or less like shifting it from one point to another, right? So just as when you place it here, you read what it gives, and it says that it moves or stretches the object. So objects that are partially enclosed by a crossing window are stretched, right? Objects that are completely enclosed within a crossing window or that are selected individually are moved rather than stretched, right? So now this is a rectangle. Now let's draw another rectangle with lines, right? And then let's see how different that would look like or be handled. Right, so let's look at that. Right, so now we have these two guys. The difference between this and this is that this has 4 objects, 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then this guy on the left has just 1 object because it was drawn from a straight out rectangle. Let's stretch the guy on the right. So we click. That's asking us to select objects. So probably want to only drag or stretch this guy. So once you select it, then enter, and then it's now asking us to specify base point, maybe here, and then what do we see? We are stretching it out. So it's more or less like trying to pick up a part of it. Okay, so that's how our stretch is working. It's more or less like we are trying to drag a part of the object outside, or let me say away from the original object, right? Basically. And then our next tool we want to delve into is this guy we call the scale, right? The scale, you know what the scale is, it increases the size or decreases the size. right? So I can select this, and then I select this object, and then what do? Enter. Once I'm done, it's asking me to specify the base point. Maybe this is my base point. And once I'm done, I have two options over here. I can either increase it like this. Now increasing it like this will certainly mean that you don't know a specific let me see, degree to which you want to add or then increase the original objects to, but maybe you want to bring it down here, and then now the original object has a ratio of 1:1, but if I want to increase it twice bigger, it becomes more or less like 2, right? So this point is asking us to input the scale ratio, let me say scale factor, let me put it like that. So let's press 2, and then the 2 over there, and then I say enter, and then what it gives us is that it gives us twice of the original one, right? That's how the scale works. Now apart from the scale 2 at the top there, you can also do another type of scale, which is by right clicking. So let's undo this action, and then let's select this guy, right click, and then look for scale over here, right, and then look for our base points, and then drag it up, and then give it a scale factor 2, and then enter. Now we have this guy like this. Now you know that the half of 2 is what? 1, right? So if I want to scale this guy back down to the original, all that I need to do is select it and then scale it down to 0.5, right? So I select this guy like this, right click, and then scale, I specify my base point, drag it up, and then I give it 0.5, enter, and then it comes back to the original, right? That's basically it for the scale guy. Our next parts or two that I want to delve into within this basics is what we call layers, right? So basically, once you are doing technical drawing, you get to point where you need to impute broken lines or different kinds of lines in a drawing. Are we good? So now you realize that these kind of lines you are drawing here are continuous. They start and then they continue. They are continuous lines. There's no break in them, right? But then what if I find myself in a situation where I need to make broken lines? How do I do that? Now there are two ways of doing that, either using a shortcut or using the manual way. So the shortcut, you just type LA and then enter. That's the easiest way, right? So LA and then enter. So now this guy or this box opens, right? Now that this guy is opened, we are being given the opportunity to select a line type we desire. So probably when we want to make dotted lines, all that I'll do is locate this guy over here which says new layer. Left click on it, and then there's a new layer over there. Probably I want to give the name of this broken line, maybe let's just say dotted lines, right? Dotted lines, or just dotted, right? And then enter. Once I'm done, this line is added to the layer, right? The layers tab over here. So you click on the drop down over here, you see dotted right over here, right? So at the end of the day, how do I make sure that the line type I have is... So now in this situation, what I'll do is that I'll move to the line type area, as you see on this side, and then look for the dotted guy. And once I'm there, I just click on the continuous, right? This guy is continuous because it's we can't see it fully. You see continuous, so I just click on continuous, and then this guy is displayed. So you see that we have different kinds of lines. You know, I'll say that most of them are broken lines. Others are zigzag and other kinds of lines. So the type of lines you are looking for are broken lines. So what do? You can just press H on the keyboard, and then we have hidden broken lines, right? So once you've selected that guy, just load it, right? And then you select the type of broken line you want. Maybe you want iso dash space, and all of this. There are many, right? So the one that I personally use, which is mostly found in many technical drawings ISO dash. You left click on it and then you move to OK, right? Then OK. Are we good? So now that we find ourselves in this situation, we can also close this guy. That layers box that open is also found up here within this toolbox area, right? Over here, as you can see, layers over here. So every single type of line has its own jurisdiction. The original, the default one, is a continuous line which has the name 0, as you can see over here. So you click down the drop down and then you see 0, you see layer 1, and you see dotted. The line we're working with is a continuous line, but the line we want to move on to is a broken line. So in address, so the type of line that we are dealing with is a broken type of line. So what do? We select the dotted. Once you select it, once you select this guy, and then we pick our line to draw, we click and then we extend, and we have broken lines coming out. Are we okay? So now what if right after drawing these broken lines, the broken lines, I'm only using it for a part of my whole drawing but not a full drawing? As now to convert it back, all I need to do is move to the top and then click the drop down and then send it back to 0. Once it gets back to 0 and draw a normal line, becomes a continuous line. So the advice I would give is that set up your dotted line layer down. Once you are done, it saves within your work area. So that means that every new drawing area you open, you have these guys over there. You have the 0, the dotted, and the layer 1, right? Every new guy you open, once you are done saving it, it maintains that dotted kind of lines within the layers panel, right? So basically, probably after drawing my broken lines, it seems too close, the spacing is close or it's too large. Now I can change the spacing of my broken line by using a shortcut called LTS. LTS or LT scale. So once I press LTS, then I hit enter, then it's asking me to enter a new line type scale factor. The original one is 1, so let me try and give it 2. Then watch carefully what happens to the broken line over here. Enter. Now you see it seems to have become longer, the lines have become less, and then it seems like the spacing has increased more or less. Let me give it a bigger value so you can see the actual difference. So LTS, and then enter, and then let me give it maybe 5. Enter. Ooh, our broken lines have now reduced. Do we see that? Now I want to give it a very small value such that at the end of the day I'll see minute broken lines. So LTS, enter, and then at the end of the day let me give it 0.5. enter. Ooh, very minute, right? So LTS, the shortcut to reducing the spacing between my lines or my broken lines, right? Now the next guy we want to delve into is the multi-line text, or basically text, right? So probably there are some times in technical drawing where even after or let me say engineering drawing instead, even after looking into your section view, you need to write under it that this is a section view, right? Exactly. So how do I do that in AutoCAD? All I need to do is this A over here, we just click on it, and then at the end there we have this cursor with the ABC down there, and then you left click one area and then just drag to get any shape you want. Probably maybe we want a square like this, and then we left click. Once we are done, we have the ability to now type whatever we want. So let's say section AA. Section AA. Once I'm done, I close the editor, and as we can see, our text section AA is displayed right here. I have the ability to change everything about this text. How do I do that? Just left click on it, and then double click. Right, so once I have this, I can change the letters that I want to change. Once I'm done, I close once more. Now let's double click on this guy, and at the end we have the same action, right? So now what we want to achieve over here is to be able, once we double click on it and then we see this guy like this, apart from changing maybe the letters that we have, we can also probably change the color, right? So we move on to this guy, the by layer, probably we choose red, right? At the end of the day, the red doesn't apply to this guy because you have not selected it to change to red. So let's select this whole guy, double click on it once more, and then make sure that we select this whole guy, and then you click and drag over it, and then we go to layer by layer, and maybe let's pick a color green, and then at the end of the day we have a letter green over there. Maybe at the end of the day we don't want the font style area, we want to change it, so you click on the drop down, and then you have different fonts that you can use. Alright, so let me look at one of my favorite font types or styles. Alright, let me see if it's available. Let me see exactly this guy, agency FB. So I click, and then once I'm done, I close the editor. So you see very nicely written over there. Right, so that's it for the text guy. Now at the end of the day, maybe the text seems too small, right? Probably the text I'm dealing with is too small. All that I can do is to scale it up, right? So just the same process of scaling. Right click, once it's selected, you right click, and then you scale. You select any point around it, and then you just keep dragging until you get to the size you desire. You could even give a number. Alright, so maybe let's use 6, and then enter. It gives us a big text area. The next thing we also want to look at is the measure tool. So the measure tool, as its name suggests, is used to measure, distances, angles. Once you click the drop down, you can measure a distance, you can measure radius, angle, area, and volume. Right, so let's try and measure this line and then see the length. So now all that we do is that we click on the drop down, and then we select our distance because we want to measure distance. We now specify the first point here, and then drag it all the way to the second point, and then at the end of the day it gives us the distance 8.5168. right, let's try and do angle. So with the angle, let's try and do this guy, and then well, it says the lines are not parallel. Let's try something else and see. This guy and then this guy, lines are still not parallel. So let's try and get a shape that can actually give us the angle or angular reading. So we have this triangle, more or less like a rough guy over here. So we select one line, and then we select the other line, and then our angle appears right here, and it is over here, angle 27. Right, so the other options that we can make use of under this guy, we also have the radius. This is basically for a circle. So maybe I draw a circle like this, and then I want to measure the radius. I come to radius, and then I apply it on this circle, and then it gives me the radius. Right, there are other ones that we can do it to exit. The other ones we can look into, the area and the volume. So let's try area. So maybe area, specify first corner. Maybe let's look at this guy like this, then specify next corner. So probably this guy. Once we are done, let's see. So you see it's giving us the area. Very nice too. Once you're done, let's hit enter and see what we get. So the area is 0, then the perimeter was giving us 4.3640. Are we good? Right, so basically, So at the end of the day, let's try and see whether we can make it much more feasible once again. Let's see. So we select the first point, we select the second point, we come down like this and then move down to this guy and then hit enter, and then that's our area 0.8841, perimeter 3.7887, meaning that has given us the area of this guy. Right, what do you know about volume? Volume is more or less length times breadth times height. Let's see if volume will work in this case. So volume, I have this guy, I have this guy, I come down here and I come down here. I'll hit enter and see at the end of the day we don't have a height, right? So more or less we say that the volume should be used for 3D objects. So within our 2D space we are looking at area only, right? So let's see, we have come to the end of the part 3 AutoCAD basics, right? But then there's this one final important action I would like to look out to elaborate on, right? It was concerning the polar tracking. So the polar tracking down here, we said that once you put it off it gives you crooked lines, but once you put it on it gives you straightened lines. There's also other features that this cursor of AutoCAD can do. If I, for example, select a line right now and then I want to draw a rectangle that aligns with this guy over here, all that I can do is that once I bring the cursor to this point and I see a box, it's called an endpoint. Once I bring it around here and I see a triangle, it's called the midpoint of that line. Once I bring it down here and I see a box, it becomes what? The same end point. So now I want to draw a rectangle that aligns with the edge of this guy. All I'll do is that I'll place my cursor anywhere along a point on this line, maybe here, and then once I'm done I drag the cursor away, and then once you see this green plus indicated up there, bring the cursor down and then you see that the green line continues. So I click and then probably I drag it downwards. Now I want to have the same distance of the base, which is this side. All that I can do is get to the base point, the end, and then once the green plus is there I drag it down and then it aligns with it. So I click and then I move on to the top, place the cursor on it, it becomes green, and then I place the cursor also over here so that I can get the same distance or the same shape or the shape I desire. So I press it and then I get to this point, right? So that's one very important thing that this cursor can do. Once you place the green at a certain point, the cursor at a certain point, and it becomes a green plus, it means that it aligns within that same point, right? So I won't be able to draw crooked lines. My lines will be what? They will be straight. So I would say that this 3-part video has been very good, taking us through the drawing area, construction, modify, layers, and then utilities, right? And probably these are the very important ones that we need to handle basically 2D drawings, because even before you make a 3D drawing you need a 2D form of it, right? So these are basically how we can go through our AutoCAD mechanical and do drawings that we desire, right? Now at the end of the day, just as I said that Autodesk or AutoCAD, the normal one, the English one, it also has the same features, right? It also comes with the same features, just that at the end of the day there may be some feature differences between the mechanical and the AutoCAD. So if you find out that you are watching this video and then yours is just normal Autodesk, you can follow, because some points or some tools coincide, right? So we've come to the end of part 3 of the 3-part AutoCAD mechanical basics video, and I hope that you learned a lot. Don't forget to get yourself some drawings and then be practicing on them so you can have the tools and their functions at your fingertips. Right, so until next time, I say bye bye, but don't forget to give us a thumbs up and a subscribe, and don't forget to share it to your brother or sister who needs it.